Hey everyone, this is a 2024 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off Road. I've been driving this for the past few days and doing a few road trips with it and thought I'd share just my driving impressions. So let's hop in and take a look. First thing I noticed right away compared to the previous generation, the seats are vastly improved. That was probably my biggest gripe with the previous generation of the Tacoma. The seats always felt like I was sitting on the ground almost, and they just were not comfortable for me. These seats are vastly improved. I'm sitting much higher off the ground. They have pretty good lateral support now, good headrest. This model, although it's a manual adjustment for the seat, it does have power lumbar, which is really nice for long highway drives. The engine is obviously a 2.4 liter four-cylinder turbo. You can really hear the turbo spool up, and you can hear a little bit of the essentially the turbo boost noises, which is kind of funny. I'm not really used to hearing that, on a pickup truck. That's more of a sports car attribute, so it's kind of funny to hear. The 8-speed transmission feels pretty good. It shifts pretty precisely, pretty quickly. Doesn't seem to hunt around for gears too much. And then also, ride quality is also fairly good. This is still a body-on-frame truck with a solid rear axle, and you can still feel that going over bumps, but it's much more subdued compared to the previous generation Tacoma. The previous gen, I feel like over every bump you could really feel just the entire chassis kind of shaking. And another feature I've been impressed with is the technology in this Tacoma. It has a fully digital gauge cluster, which is fairly customizable. As you can see here, there's 3 different fields which you can customize on a given home screen, and then there's also 3 home screens available that you can basically switch to very quickly using steering wheel controls. So basically you could have like a different gauge cluster setup for different driving scenarios. You could have one setup maybe for towing, one for off-roading, one for daily driving, which is pretty cool. I haven't seen that in a lot of other cars. And then jumping on to the kind of active safety driver assistance features, this model does have radar cruise control as well as auto steer, lane centering essentially. I've been using both those features quite a bit on these highway drives, and I've been pretty impressed with them. The radar cruise is very smooth. Even when cars are merging in front of you, it doesn't hit the brakes really, really hard or jolt you. It's a very smooth system. And the auto steer is actually pretty good as well for a truck, an off-road focused pickup truck. It does a good job like keeping the vehicle in lane, even on sweeping interstate curves. You always want to have your hands still on the steering wheel, be ready to take over, but for monotonous highway driving, the system does a pretty good job. Another huge improvement is the Infotainment center screen for Android Auto or CarPlay. The previous generation that I drove, I think last year, actually might have been a few years old, but it had a extremely slow and just laggy infotainment when I was using it with Android Auto, to the point where I almost couldn't even listen to like Spotify music. This new system, which I believe is actually an Android-based system running in the background, essentially, is much more snappy, much higher resolution, which is great to see. And one weird thing to note about the infotainment here, on most vehicles I've reviewed, there's a dedicated home button somewhere on the side of the infotainment screen, and when you press that, it would take you back to the vehicle's home screen. On this Tacoma, the only way I can figure it out is you have to go back to your app screen and then tap the Toyota logo, and then you can go to the vehicle settings and the main, essentially, vehicle screen. This is just one extra step that I'm not used to seeing in most vehicles. And then the interior styling, I like it. It's definitely very much truck-like. It's boxy, it's aggressive in your face, but I think it kind of works for what the Tacoma is. Especially this TRD version. It's very aggressive, but it's very much like work focused. You've got really, really big grab handles and really big knobs on the HVAC controls. I'd say some of the biggest air conditioning and fan blower speed controls I've seen, but the flip side of that is it's really easy to use with gloves on, or if you're out camping. It's a very functional interior that I don't think I would feel bad about, getting dirty and like taking some abuse. So beyond that, I can't really speak much to the payload capabilities or off-roading, because I'm not going to have a chance to do that with this truck. But just from a highway view, spending some time driving it, I figured I would just make some comments here.